I'm Tryon, and this is my Zeah locked Ultimate Ironman. I want to complete one of the biggest challenges in old school RuneScape, completing a solo challenge mode Chambers of Xeric. To do this, I'll be leveling my skills, obtaining the best gear I can, and killing a number of bosses along the way, without ever leaving Zeah. This is Xerician UIM. Welcome back. So, let's talk about how we're going to train our skills in raids. To do this, we'll briefly discuss Chambers Scouting. Chambers of Xeric raids are made up of 3 floors. The last floor is always the Great Ulm, so it doesn't matter for us right now. In regular, normal-sized raids, the other 2 floors are made up of randomly generated rooms, with each floor having 2 or 3 combat or puzzle rooms. While there are rotations for the order you might encounter these in, it's not relevant for us right now, so we'll talk about that when we're back here for real. And since we can't really complete any of the rooms yet, all we really care about is the first room on the top floor. There are 3 rooms I'm looking for. Ice Demon, which will let me train woodcutting and firemaking, the Corrupted Scavenger, where we can train thieving, and a resource room, which will let me train hunter and some cooking. To scout, I just have to start a party, go into the raid, and see what the first room is, which is made extremely easy with the RuneLite plugin. If the raid has a room I want, I'll use it. If not, I leave the raid and repeat. When doing this efficiently, I can scout around 4 raids per minute, so hopefully it won't take too long to find one. And it looks like the first one I managed to find is a thieving room. The method is pretty simple. I just steal from these chests. Some of them can damage me, so if I find any of those, I'll be marking them to avoid them. I believe the most efficient way to do this is to find 4 non-poison chests close together and cycle through them, but you also need a lockpick to be truly efficient here, so I'm not that worried about it. The goal here is going to be to get 25 thieving, which will unlock fruit stalls. This shouldn't take too long, probably a bit under an hour, so I'll see you when we get there. And here is 25 thieving. I promise, at some point in this episode, I will remember to turn off screen notifications. Now that we have 25 thieving, there's nothing left for us here in the raid, so we'll go ahead and drop everything, and then we'll head out and start scouting for our next raid. I also just realized I haven't mentioned anything about the tools in the bottom of my inventory. I got these from different chambers rooms. The pickaxe came from the iron pickaxe spawn in the Guardian's room, while the gardening tools came from one of the different types of resource rooms. While none of these would be difficult to obtain later, I figured why not grab them now, especially since I don't really need a completely empty inventory. Alright, well back to scouting. So as you can tell from the report button timer, it's been about 10 seconds since I ended the last clip, but as you can see we just got our first ever random event. While the event itself isn't super interesting, this brings up something that we'll explore a bit more in depth later. Like most people, I learned about this from Settled's videos, but gaining experience in an instance and leaving before a 5-minute interval can be used to force spawn random events. We'll explore some of the implications for this later with Slayer training, but it's good to know that it works in chambers. And we got some flax from the random. I guess we'll just hold on to it for now since we have plenty of inventory space, so back to scouting. Alright, and in the first scout of our session, we found ourselves an Ice Demon room. Once again, pretty simple just for skilling. We'll be chopping saplings for kindling and then burning them, just like with any woodcutting and firemaking training. We're going to be here until 15 woodcutting because at this level, these saplings give us 30 woodcutting XP, while regular trees only give us 25. Oaks will give us 37.5 XP each, so once we get to level 15, it's not technically worth it to keep training here. So, I'll see you guys when we get 15 woodcutting. Alright, and that should be 15 woodcutting. So we'll just finish burning these kindling and then we can get out of here. Oh, and that is also 100 total levels, which is absolutely huge. Alright, and we actually got back-to-back useful raids. In this room we will be catching guanic bats, which give us 5 hunter XP each, meaning that we'll need to catch 194 to get to 9 hunter. So let's get started. And this will give us 9 Hunter, unlocking copper longtails for us, which we can catch down in Land's End. Also, see, I told you I would remember to turn off screen notifications. So, let's go ahead and cook the last of these bats, and then we will see where we're at. So, that is the last of the bats. This will also, I believe, be the last time we're here for a very, very long time. Always take the opportunity to kiss a frog. As you can see, in Chambers, we got up to 25 thieving, 16 woodcutting, 20 firemaking, 11 cooking, and 9 hunter. For those curious, it took around 2.5 hours for the skilling, plus the time scouting, so around 3 hours total, give or take a little bit. I'm not entirely sure what to do next, so I think a good next step is going to be heading over to Hosidius so we can store these gardening tools, and we'll figure out what to do from there. So let's begin the walk back. While we head back, let me tell you a little bit more about my RuneScape experience. Like I said in the last episode, before this account, I had never played a UIM before. I have a main with less than 1900 total, and an impressive list of boss KC, including 3 whole Chambers KC, one of which I leeched, and the other 2 I was carried through. I've never even attempted a challenge mode, much less completed one or soloed one. I have no TOB KC, no TOA KC, no Inferno KC. I have a full-time job and a family, so I don't play 12 hours a day. All of that is to say, I am not an elite RuneScape player by any means. I'm very much casual. However, I truly love RuneScape, and I love facing challenges and improving until I can beat them. And since Zeah is such an interesting place to me, I wanted to take on the challenge of soloing a challenge mode Chambers on an area restricted UIM. So, if you're watching this, I appreciate you taking this journey with me. So, along this walk, I've also been thinking about the next steps. I think first I'm going to go ahead and get up to 100% hosidius favour. To start that, we'll be plowing the field, which will also give us some early crafting and farming levels. To do that, we're going to need to grab a hammer to repair the plow when it breaks. I believe that there's one that spawns somewhere around the tithe farm. Then we can go begin plowing. It's not an incredibly fast method, but it shouldn't take more than a couple hours. Alright, and here is our hammer, so we can go ahead and start plowing. And that is 45% hosidius favour. Oh, I should probably stop. And that is 45.2% hosidius favour. So let's go store our tools. You can also extrapolate the exact numbers if you want here, but it took about 3.5 hours to do our favor, so not too bad all in all. And here are our tools stored. I decided to come clear out the inventory so that we can have as much room as possible for mess hall. So goodbye frog token, and we'll just wield the pickaxe. Let's go use up this flax. And that's the last of the flax, which was just enough to get us to 13 crafting. Very cool. So we'll just drop actually all of this and head to the mess hall. So it turns out I did not look up the cooking requirements, and I don't have it. So I can't do the mess hall yet. I'm thinking now that this is a good chance to go ahead and go train our fishing in Piscarilius, because we can get some easy cooking levels that way. So I will head over there, and I will see you when we get there. I changed my mind. Gotta keep you on your toes. I was just thinking, and while I have a completely empty inventory, I figured I should go ahead and come to the Arceuus library and get my favor to 100%. For those that don't know, this is pretty simple. You talk to the patrons, they'll ask you for books, and you get them. There's a RuneLight plugin that tells you where the book locations are once you find some, so you just search until you find some, and then it'll tell you where the books that you need are. There's also books like this one, the Transportation Incantation, which unlocks the Kourend Castle teleport for us. Alright, and that's all the books we need. You can put these books into either Magic or Runecraft XP. For pretty obvious reasons, we're going to be putting them into Runecraft, because we don't have another way of training it until we hit to 77, except for this first one I accidentally put into Magic. So let's go ahead and use up all these. Alright, and that gets us to level 2 Runecraft. Alright, so now let's go to Piscarilius and do our fishing so we can get some cooking levels so that we can go do mess hall. Let's see how much a small fishing net costs. 5 GP. Okay, so we'll just go pickpocket a couple men and we'll be right back. I will not be accepting questions on how I overshot pickpocketing 2 men by 1, but now that we have our small fishing net, we can head to the west of us here, and there is a spot where we can begin training our fishing. And here we are. I'm not entirely sure what level we're going to be fishing until, but we need at least 20 cooking, so we'll see where we end up stopping. So this is 26 cooking, which will be our last cooking level here, because I'll be stopping in just a minute, and also gets us to 175 total. You might be wondering why I'm holding on to the raw anchovies. The answer is that I'm not entirely sure what I'll be doing next, but I'm gonna need GP soon. And there's a raw fish store in Piscarilius that buys and sells, you guessed it, raw fish, and anchovies are worth more than shrimp. And this will be level 20 fishing. I decided to stop here because this will unlock fly fishing for us, so we won't have to return here in the future to fish more. So I'm just going to gather a few more fish and then we'll head over to the shop. Our hard work got us 130 GP, so I'm going to go pickpocket while I think about what to do next. I've decided to do the Queen of Thieves quest next. Not only will this give us some Piscarilius favor and thieving XP, but it also gives us 2,000 coins, which will definitely come in handy. So we start the quest with Tomas here, who is investigating a gang called the Saviors of Kourend, led by the Queen of Thieves, but he needs our help. So we agree. So we start asking around the economically challenged looking people of Piscarilius, and find out about a man named Robert O'Reilly who knows where the gang is located. Now Robert here knows where the gang is located, but he wants a stew in exchange. Typically, we would just buy one of these in Sears Village, but since we're on Zeah, we can't. But luckily, we can make one. So we buy a potato, some raw beef, head over to the general store over here, buy a bowl, come fill the bowl with some water, and then we just have to add the potato to the bowl, cook the beef, put the beef in the bowl, and then cook the bowl, and now we have a stew for our friend Robert here, who in exchange tells us that we can find the Saviors of Kourend in a place called the Warrens. Now, luckily for us, the Warrens are located not at all a very inconvenient walk away that I'm going to hate having to do every time I need feathers. So we meet Devin down here, and he tells us that in order to join the gang, we have to kill Conrad King, a senior member of a rival gang. We agree, obviously, and so we go to find Conrad. And now that we have found Mr. Conrad King, we are going to brutally murder him, because why would I not? So, we return to the Warrens, and now we get to meet the Queen of Thieves. We try to arrest her, but there's a plot twist. The Saviors of Kourend are actually trying to save Kourend, and she, it turns out, is Lady Piscarilius. She tells us that the council is corrupt, and Councillor Hughes is working with the disciples of Yama. We don't believe her, but she tells us there's proof if we go to search her house. So, we decide to head to her house, go upstairs, go to the opposite side of the house, and repeatedly attempt to picklock her chest until we can get in and find the information that we're looking for. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. And after reading the letter, it turns out that Councillor Hughes is in fact working with the disciples of Yama. So we bring this information back to Tomas, who decides to drop his investigation into the Saviors of Kourend to now investigate the Councillor and the disciples of Yama. But he won't give us a reward. So we return to the Warrens and we find out the counselor has been arrested, and that is quest completed. So that gets us to 27 thieving. We also get 2,000 coins, as you can see in our inventory, in addition to this page that we can add to our memoirs, which should give us a teleport to Piscarilius. We also get this favor certificate, which gives us 10% Piscarilius favor. And with our 2,000 GP, I have an idea. As you might notice, we are now at a real estate agent. You also might notice that we are 1,000 coins poorer and we have a construction manual in our inventory. This is because in classic YouTuber fashion I did not record it, however, we are now proud homeowners. Unfortunately, we cannot move our POH to Zeah until we reach level 25 construction, so that's a pretty big obstacle for training construction for now, but we'll get to that later. So I think it's probably about time to continue our original plan and head to the mess hall. I've never done it before, so I'm going to have to look it up, and once I know, I'll be back to show you. So let's head over there and get our 100% hosidius favor. I also just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for all the support on the first episode. At the time of recording this, it's at over 500 views and I've gotten 70 subscribers, which doesn't sound like a lot and objectively probably isn't, but it far exceeded my expectations for my first video and I truly appreciate it. Speaking of, if you like the video, you can like the video, and if you want to follow the series, feel free to subscribe. Or don't, I can't control you. And once again, I welcome any feedback that you have. With all that being said, I will see you at the mess hall. Alright, so here we are. At my cooking level, I'm going to be making stews, which are actually pretty simple. I grab 13 bowls, fill them with water, 13 pieces of beef, and cook them, and if I burn any, then I just replace them. Then I just have to combine all of the beef with the bowls, grab 13 potatoes, combine the potatoes with the bowls, and then cook the stews on the range. I'm still burning a lot because of my low cooking level, but each of these inventories is getting me around 5% hosidius favor, so it shouldn't take too long to finish. And these stews right here should get us to 100% hosidius favor. So now we've gotten 100% arceuus favor, 100% hosidius favor, and 10% more Piscarilius favor, plus 141 total levels, which I think is pretty good for a second progress episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next.